Forget plays and short-term tricks. I'm going to break down the fundamental operating system that has worked in our insurance agency for over 20 years and will work in any rate environment for any product. What if I told you that a six-figure income isn't about being a natural salesperson? It's about acting like a machine. And today I'm handing out the 5 tactical components of that machine. I see it time and time again. Agents and team members are busy. They're making calls, they're sending emails, and they feel like they're in the trenches all day, but their production is flat. It's inconsistent. They have a good month, then a bad month, and they can't figure out why. They're caught in this whirlwind and think the answer is some new trick or a better lead source. But let me be direct. The problem isn't your work ethic, it's your lack of a system. You're running your day with a random approach, and it's a random approach with random results. In this video, I'm going to lay out the 5 operational steps to building a predictable, repeatable production machine. This isn't a theory from some guy who hasn't sold a policy in a decade. This is the exact operating system I'm using right now as a team member to run our agency that's been ranked top 10 out of 19,500 agents in the largest captive insurance carrier multiple years in a row. We're going to cover the 5 critical steps. First, installing the operating system itself, the sales process. Second, we'll master your inputs through consistent prospecting and daily activity. Third, you'll learn how to become a master fact finder. Fourth, I'll show you how to execute the plays with powerful presentations and trial closes. And finally, we'll analyze the output of tracking everything. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear, mechanical, and predictable blueprint for building a six-figure income. No more guessing, no more hoping, just a process that works. One of the most misdiagnosed problems in sales is that most people think they have a closing problem or a prospecting problem. The reality is they have a process problem, or more accurately, they don't have a process at all. I was the same way when I started. I thought I could just talk to people, get them to like me, and sell some insurance. It worked sometimes, but when it didn't, I had no idea where it went wrong. I couldn't improve because I had nothing to measure. I was just working harder than I needed to. And that's why the first step of becoming a six-figure producer is to stop winging it and install a universal operating system for every sales conversation. I'm talking about the perfect sales process. This isn't something I came up with out of thin air. It's a proven framework that turns sales into a science. Think about it like cooking. When you first start, you follow recipes. You don't just throw ingredients in a pan and hope for the best. Or if you do, it won't taste very good. You follow the steps. So once you then get good at following the steps of the recipe, you can start creating your own dishes. This is no different. You copy my framework first, you master it, then you add your own flair. A defined sales process gives you predictability. You always know where you are in the conversation and what you need to do next. It also makes training easier because when a deal goes sideways, you can pinpoint exactly where it happened. Was it the greeting? Was it the fact finding? Was it the presentation? Without a process, it's all just a blur. Now, having a process is the foundation, but the engine of this machine is consistent daily activity. That's what drives your income. To make this dead simple for you, I've pulled the key daily metrics from our Win the Day framework and put them into a 1-page PDF I call the 6-figure daily activity tracker. It has sections for you to tally your daily calls and your fact finders completed. The 3 numbers that directly control your paycheck. It's the fastest way to build the habits that lead to a bigger income. The link to download it for free is right below this video. Go grab it now. Alright, let's get into the guts of the machine. Here are the 5 operational steps to building a 6-figure income. Step 1, install the operating system, the perfect sales process. This is your foundation. Every other step builds on this. The perfect sales process has 7 parts: attitude, greeting, fact-finding, selection, presentation, trial close, and negotiating and closing. We've already talked about why you need it, but let's talk about the first component. Attitude. This isn't just fluffy mindset stuff. It's about being sold on your product and your company and your ability to help people. Your conviction needs to be unshakable. You have to believe that the product you deliver and your personal service is worth paying more for. If you don't believe it, how can you possibly expect a prospect to? I've had sales where someone went from paying $2,000 a year to $4,000 a year with me. They got 10 times the liability coverage and the proper coverage on their home. I didn't shy away from being doubled because I knew the value we provided was worth it. If you're afraid of the price, the prospect will sense it and be even more afraid than you are. In our office, fear is an acronym where we define it as false events appearing real. So don't let something made up in your head cripple your sales potential. Step 2 is master your inputs. Prospecting and daily activity. A system is useless without inputs. In sales, your primary input is activity. Outbound calling is a skill that allows you to reach into the economy and take your share of the money. And if they're printing more money, you better get more of it. There's an old story I like about a colonel that had a recipe for fried chicken, and he went went on the road to franchise it. He'd go from restaurant to restaurant, he'd cook his chicken, and they'd say no, and then he would just get into his car and then go to the next town. He did this 1,009 times before he got his first yes. That's prospecting. You have to be relentless. In our office, the standard for winning the day and determining your activity is 120 calls, or 6 quotes, or 6 apps. Notice I said or. If you're having a day where you're quoting and closing all day, you might not hit 120 calls, and that's fine, but you have to hit one of those metrics every single day. This creates consistency. Sales is a game where the person who puts in the most activity wins, and also where there are winners and there's quitters. To get the most out of your calls, you also need to be efficient. You should double dial every single time to increase your odds of getting someone on the phone. If someone has their phone on Do Not Disturb, the first call will go to voicemail, but the second one will ring. It dramatically increases your contact rate. Now, if you're wondering if you're going to piss some people off, it's really rare. And if I think back to before we were double dialing and then after double dialing, we still have the same amount of people occasionally that would get annoyed, so not much has changed. Step number 3 is master fact finding. This is where you separate yourself from 99% of the people selling insurance. Most people just pitch a rate for similar coverage, and they just talk about what they want to sell. A professional diagnoses. They ask questions to uncover the client's actual problems, and this is why at our office we hammer fact finding harder than any other part of the sales process. You can't close a window if you haven't asked the questions to learn how. You need a series of questions that gives you a complete picture of the client's situation. Don't leave any conversation with a prospect without having a plan for if they get into a car accident, if they pass away, if they get disabled, or if something happens to the place that they live. And a key part of this is calculating their liability limits that they need first. We always ask about annual income, years until they retire, and their net worth. And based on what state they're in, we use that information to figure out their coverage. If you're wondering why, it's because in a lawsuit, assets and income are all up for grabs. And when you present to them in that specific way, you're not just trying to sell higher limits. You're showing them the mathematical reason they need it. The conversation now shifts from price to protection. Fact finding is also one of the ways you identify the customer type. Are they someone who values a local agent? Someone who wants to feel like they got the best deal, a self-sufficient who wants to be in charge, or a frequent shopper that only cares about price, which, by the way, is the least common customer type when you do a good job fact-finding. Your fact-finding questions need to reveal what makes the person tick, which then unlocks a secret code to close them. Step number 4 is presentation and trial closes. After you've done your fact-finding, present the solution. But don't just list off some policies. Present a comprehensive plan that solves all the problems you just uncovered in the specific way the person would want to hear it based on their customer type. The secret to sales is making an offer so good that people feel stupid saying no. If they came in for car insurance, but you found that they need renters, an umbrella, and disability, and you present it all together as one package, for example, by saying, so to give you 5 times the coverage on your car insurance, replacing your belongings anywhere in the world of renter's insurance, replacing $1,500 a month of your income, you get sick or hurt with disability insurance, and to give you an office you can actually call instead of a 1-800 number, your total would be $215 per month. How can they compare that to an auto quote from a guy that didn't even ask for their VIN? You've just made insurance with you something that isn't shoppable. And then after you make that presentation, you don't want to ask, what do you think? Or do you have any questions? You need to use a trial close to test the waters to see if they're ready to be closed. A trial close is a question that checks their interest without asking for their final commitment. One of my favorites is there anything you would change about this? This tells you right away if there is anything holding the prospect back. Another great one is, have you heard enough to make a decision? It's a powerful question that pushes them to tell you where they stand. If they say yes, you close. If they say no, find out what other information they need and go back to your fact finding. Selling happens before you ask for the close. Negotiating and closing happens after. Step 5 is analyze the output. Track everything. This brings the scientific method full circle. You've implemented a process, managed your inputs, you ran your fact finding, and executed a presentation. Now you have to analyze the results. If you want to improve something, you have to track it. In our office, we had a team member whose production suddenly dropped by half. He was in a slump, and when I asked him what he thought was wrong, he said he was struggling with objections. We looked at his numbers the previous month, and he had made 1,050 calls and got about 54 quotes. When we looked at this month, he made about 1,000 calls and only had 22 quotes. The rate at which he was quoting people when they answered was also the same. His problem wasn't his closing skill, though. The list he was calling had a lower answer rate, and he hadn't increased the call volume to compensate. As soon as he saw those numbers, he knew exactly what to do. And this is why you need to know your key ratios, like calls to quotes quotes to households written, and cars per household. These numbers tell you where your process is breaking down. Low calls to quotes, you have a greeting or an engagement problem. High quotes below households written, you have a presentation or a closing problem. This data removes the guesswork and gives you a clear path to improvement. So let's recap the operational rules for building your six-figure machine. Number 1, install the operating system. You must have and follow a sales process every single time. Randomness is the enemy of predictability. 2, master your inputs. Success is a numbers game. The winners are the ones who make the most calls and have the most conversations. 3, fact find. Stop pitching and start asking questions. Your job is to be a problem finder first and a problem solver second. 4, execute with precision. Present a comprehensive solution, not just a price. Use trial closes to guide the conversation towards a close. And number 5, analyze your output. Track your numbers religiously. Data gives you clarity, and clarity allows you to make the adjustments needed to hit your income goals. These 5 steps are the fundamentals. They aren't flashy plays that only work for a short time. They are the foundational processes that have worked in our agency for years through every type of rate environment. Think about it. They only had to get nail clippers done right once, and they haven't changed much since then. And that's what we're trying to do here when we're selling insurance. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. A six-figure income is not an accident. It's an engineered outcome of a well-run, repeatable system. Stop hoping for success and start building the machine that guarantees it. I created a platform called TrainWell to give you the exact systems, scripts, and frameworks that took me years to build. We give you the whole playbook so you can stop guessing and start producing at a high level fast. If you're ready to sell more insurance and make more money guaranteed, you need to be on TrainWell. Click the link below in the description to get started. Now that you have the 5 operational steps, you need to master what to do when you pick up the phone and call a lead. Watch this video next, how to sell insurance over the phone. I'll see you over there.